Welcome everyone to tonight's conversation. We have a jam-packed agenda, so thank you for your attendance on this beautiful day. I'm going to run through the agenda. I will be your MC for the day. I am George Sample, MBA class 2012 from John Carroll. So I've had the opportunity and the privilege of going through the program myself. So I know lots of alums and current students who are joining us for tonight's festivities, which are going to be really, really good. We're going to have the opportunity to acknowledge our graduates. We're going to be able to say hello to our current students. We're going to hear from Rich Kramer, who is an alum of John Carroll University and CEO of Goodyear. And we're also going to be able to see some of our awardees, some of our alums who are John Carroll alums who went to the MBA program, who have done fantastic things for the school as MBA alum. We're also going to be able to hear from our Dean of the Boulder School, Scott Moore, to talk about his vision and some of the things he wants to see here at John Carroll. At the end of today's session, we're going to have the unique opportunity to just break out into some networking, be able to catch up a little bit with some of our other MBA alumni people and current students, and just be able to catch up and gather at the end of our festivities today. So like I said, a jam-packed agenda, so let's go ahead and hop into it. The first thing I want to do is congratulate our graduating class of our 2021 MBA alums. So yeah, we can clap it up for them a little bit. We know that this year has been a tough year. Ever since the COVID pandemic hit in March 2020, it made going through the process of the MBA a different kind of process. Like my friend Scott Allen likes to say, though, there's opportunities there. And that's part of the things that they're taught in this John Carroll MBA program of being able to be flexible and adaptable when there are situations to come up that you did not plan for. So this was a very extended case study in being able to be flexible and adaptable when tough situations come up, or there are changes that are thrown your way. So huge kudos and congratulations to our graduating MBA class. Please do stay connected to the school. You're now fresh alums, but stay connected to the school. And this is an opportunity to tap into a network that is very powerful. This is part of the tuition you pay when you come to John Carroll. It's tapping into one of the best alumni networks you're going to find. So please do not be a stranger. And you can even, we'll talk about a little bit later, your opportunities to get involved with the alumni committees who help us stay connected with events such as this event. The next thing I'd like to do is just acknowledgement to our current students. We appreciate you. We know that you're going through kind of some of the same challenges that our graduating alumni, MBA alums just went through. But I just want to say, hey, keep on going through this. It is the opportunity to build a unique skill set. You will come out the other end much stronger and better than you ever were if you continue to persist through the process of the MBA program. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to be able to connect you with our MBA alums and the networking that we have after tonight's event. At this point, I want to just a special shout out to Jason Nedley. So Jason Nedley has been leading our part-time MBA committee and making sure that events like this happen. So he wrangles all of us together and keeps us coordinated so we can continue to stay connected and to make sure that we are doing programming like this. He was leader for making sure we had mentoring opportunities as well. We had social events, and that's under the wonderful leadership of Jason Nedley and the rest of the part-time MBA committee. So a quick clap and applause for the work that Jason Nedley has done for us as a leader for our part-time MBA folks. At this point, I want to introduce Scott Moore, who is the Dean of the Business School. He led our most recent successful effort to continue the dual accreditation in business and accounting by the Association of Advanced College Schools of Business. I mean, this is a distinction that only 5% of business institutions in the United States has. So that's a huge accomplishment, and kudos to Scott Moore for his leadership on that. Scott has really worked to enhance all different aspects of academic life at the Boulder College. He supports faculty research, teaching, service, and making sure that John Carroll's and Boulder College faculty assurance of learning efforts. As a finance professor, Scott is a past recipient of the Boulder College Wasmer Teaching Award and selected as Shine Trail University Entrepreneurship Fellow. He helped incubate the university's academic entrepreneurship loan program. And Scott's current research surrounds issues of corporate governance related to financial service organizations. So at this time, Dean of Butler Business School, Scott Moore.
Oh, well, thanks very much, George. That was a very kind introduction. It sounded like something I almost wrote. So I appreciate that. And on behalf of the Butler College, I want to welcome students, guests, faculty, and staff on Zoom this afternoon. I also want to thank the organizers and the MC, George, Jason Nedley, whom I recently met through the magic of LinkedIn, and Ron Raleigh, whom I traveled with to the UK in 2012. He might remember that as part of the MBA program, a class in the MBA program. Ron and I share some completely uncompromising photos from a pub near Bloomberg's European headquarters in the city of London. A pleasant memory. And that 10-year span, actually, I think going back to 2012, is an interesting window for a little reflection. When Ron and I and the rest of the group visited the UK following a major financial crisis that set in motion social, political, and economic shockwaves that continue to reverberate globally today. Graduate management education really has not been spared in that frame, and MBA programs across the US have struggled to meet enrollment targets, and some prominent schools have actually closed their programs. The Bowler MBA, by contrast, has gained traction during this period, increasing enrollment by more than 30%. And even in this pandemic year, we are cautiously optimistic about holding our own or even growing a little bit. Now, we talk about leadership in the MBA program a lot, and I think this testifies to leadership. And I want to, give a couple of shout outs to some leaders, starting with our Associate Dean for Graduate Programs, Dr. Walter Simmons, and our new Managing Director, Tracy Patterson, as well as some key faculty leaders. I can't see everybody out there, but I know that there are number of folks who are really engaged and great participants, but none more essential or engaged or more in control of the music than Dr. Scott Allen. And of course, that now leads me to our committed alumni leaders who have stepped up and helped shepherd the program through these challenges, demanding that the program be relevant and impactful. And so it is abundantly appropriate that we gather tonight to recognize their contributions, and the contributions especially of Tim Bensick and Molly Chirasso. Sorry, Molly, to share a little praise and thanks for their stellar efforts to ensure the MBA programs retains its vitality. So finally, let me just say that academics really don't aspire to D's, right? But I'm pretty confident that the Bowler faculty, staff, and students look very much forward to seeing each other face-to-face on campus in 3D in the fall. So you get cheesy jokes with me. So I want to thank everybody for joining us and this afternoon, and I very much look forward to the rest of the program. I hope you do as well. On with the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. When you get done with the MBA, cheesy jokes are all you have left. Awesome. So we'll move on to our keynote speaker. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce Rich Kramer, CEO and chairman of the board for the Goodyear tire rubber company, became CEO in 2010. He actually joined Goodyear in 2000 as their vice president of finance for the North American business and moved up through the ranks really quickly. Rich has had a fantastic impact on the company, being able to help shepherd leadership through different challenges as well. Under his leadership, Goodyear has been recognized as Newsweek's most responsible companies, Fortune's world's most admired companies, and Forbes' world's best regarded companies. The company regularly appears on top employer lists and all types of different publications. Goodyear has also been named one of America's most reputable companies and a company for top leaders. Born in Cleveland, Rich attended John Carroll University and received his bachelor's in 1986. Remains active, supporter of John Carroll, served on the board of trustees from 2007 to 2019. We are honored and privileged to have Rich with us. Rich, thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Oh, thanks, George. Hey, I really appreciate it. When George asked me to do this, he's certainly hard to say no to. And George is my friend. I'm glad to help you and support what I know is one of your passions, which is John Carroll, and one of mine. So thank you, and thank you for everything you do for the university. You are absolutely a stalwart for us, so I want to recognize that. And also just congratulations to the MBA students. Congratulations to Tim and Molly. Great to be recognized like that, and really a fabulous year. And I think, George, you made the comments early about what you had to do to get your MBA right now. And I think resiliency is the word I was thinking of. You described it. And I think that has just been something that probably none of you expected, but you made it through, and you figured out how to do it under different circumstances. And I think that's a skill that's going to see you well going forward. So really, really well done. And thanks to all the faculty, Scott Moore, everyone. I see Al's on as well, and Scott Allen, everyone here. Just thanks for everything you're doing to keep that program to the high standards that it is. It's really fantastic. I don't have an MBA. I never got one. I wish I did. So you guys are really lucky to have the experience from the perspective of how to think differently, how to approach problems differently, how to really look at a problem, analyze it, and come up with multiple solutions. And that's key in anything you do going forward. So really well done. George said it's a packed agenda, and ideally we can have some Q&A as we go. So I'm just going to jump right in and try to tell our story. George asked me to talk a little bit about where Goodyear's going and where our future is headed, and it's quite interesting. And frankly, it's really hard to do in 15 minutes, but I will. But maybe go back one slide there. I just wanted to tell you, you all, hopefully know Goodyear. Hopefully you have them on your vehicles right now. But we're a 123-year-old company. We operate in over 20 countries, have a little over around 50 manufacturing facilities all around the world. We're essentially one of the top 3 tire companies in the world, which we just solidified with the announced acquisition of Cooper Tire right here in Ohio as well. And of course, we have one of the best known brands that anyone remembers, one of the best known brands, frankly, globally recognized on a number of surveys. As a company, we're a technology company designing tires now, and I'll talk about in the future. We're a manufacturing company. We make tires for the passenger industry, the truck industry, the airline industry. You might not know we have about a third of the airline industry. So a third of the time when you're flying, more so in the US, you're landing on Goodyear tires as well. We are in the off-highway business, the mining business, of course, the race business. We sell to new car companies and truck companies like GM or BMW or Freightliner. We sell obviously in the replacement channels as we go. We were actually the first manufacturer in the tire industry to sell direct to consumer, thinking about how consumers shop and making the tire buying process easier. That's something that still has us and our website getting more visits than the next 4 competitors combined. We also sell to fleets, and I'll talk about that in a moment. We actually sell in retail outlets, and we actually own, let's call it about 3,000 retail outlets around the world and about 2,500 truck tire centers. We own our own distribution company, and of course, we sell through third-party retailers and third-party franchisees as well. So we're kind of across the gamut. So we touch a lot of different spaces, from consumers to manufacturing to technology. So that just gives you a quick snapshot of who we are and what we do. Now, before I jump into a little bit about what we'd have to do as a company to face how our business is changing, I want to start with a slide and just ask all of you a question. I'll let you ponder it. And I use this slide when I talk about change and disruption that we have to deal with and how we're ready for it. And I would just ask you, as you look at this picture, in particular that boat, what do you see when you think about this picture? You know, do you see maybe a poor sailor? Do you see a broken mast? Maybe you think it's, you know, Captain Morgan piloting that boat over there. I don't know. But think about that, and we'll come back to that at the end of my remarks. But just something to think about when you think about disruption as we move ahead. So now let's come back to maybe a more relevant topic for us at Goodyear, and that's to think about how we have to manage our business, a 123-year-old business, going forward. And I like to say to our customers, to our dealers, to our associates, that we're not coming upon an inflection point. We are actually at an inflection point in our industry. And a person I suspect many of you know, the famous Andy Grove from Intel, he described an inflection point, as you see it on that screen, an event that changes the way we think and act, a permanent shift whose effects are widespread, and after which nothing is the same. And that's clearly what's happening in mobility today. Mobility that has really remained unchanged for the last, let's call it 100 years, when we migrated from horse and buggy into the gas, or now what's commonly referred to as the ICE, or internal combustion engine. It really hasn't changed. And I will tell you, that move from horses to cars was actually a really difficult move. And most people hated it. Most people didn't want to move forward with that. They thought cars were loud. They were noisy. At that time, they didn't have any roads. There were no rules of the road. There were no speed limits. There were people getting hit. People thought they were just these crazy things going forward. And most of the people couldn't see the value of what cars would bring to the world, particularly in an agrarian or a farming society. Some did, like certainly Henry Ford, but also our founder, our two founders, our inventor, Charles Goodyear, and beyond that, our founder, S.A. Seiberling, who actually saw what the automobile would do and consequently what tires do. He had the foresight to see what was coming. It's up to us right now to see what's happening at that second inflection point, to see what's coming beyond how we manage our business today. And when I think about that, a couple of the changes we're seeing is certainly that, you know, I like to say, well, actually they say it, car companies are getting out of the car business. You know, you've read over the past few years, GM said they're stopping making sedans. Ford doesn't make any sedans anymore other than the Mustang. Chrysler got out of a lot of their sedans. No one's actually making cars. Yes, they're making SUVs and light trucks, CUVs, but they're getting out of the car business. And even those car companies like GM and Ford have really set up their own Ford Mobility Systems, or GM bought Cruise and has their own mobility, a company that's really moving away from metal bending and traditional cars as we know it, and moving into EVs and AVs as we move forward. And on top of that, you have the new entrants. The one you all know, of course, is Tesla, but more disruptive maybe even than Tesla, or maybe you put Tesla in this category. You have companies like Waymo, ultimately Apple, who you don't read about as much, who are in there, but you have essentially software companies coming into the auto space because they're not viewing mobility as moving people or things from A to B, but really looking at the value of time and how to get information out of what's happening on the road. So there's a whole new different set of players. Think about, for us, a whole new different set of customers that we have to deal with. Then you have the movement from internal combustion engines to electric engines. And this is a trend, as you all know, is happening. And it's really driven by both regulations and by this push towards sustainability. Maybe it's chicken and egg, which one came first. But you've all read about California saying no ICE engines after, I think, 2030 or 2035. UK is 2030. And Europe, the EU essentially doesn't say when, but some of you may know this number, but you know, the EU has set CO2 emissions goals that are really, really strenuous to make. And in fact, the only way that the car companies in Europe will make them is to shift their fleet from internal combustion engines to EVs. And they have incentives to do it, as I think if the car companies in Europe don't meet the strict CO2 emissions targets for between 2020 and 2021, they have penalties of around 30 billion collectively to pay to the EU. And on top of that, how disruptive this is for them, the estimate from Alex Partners is about $200 billion to retool them from ICE to EV. So this trend, it's not happening, it's not coming, it's here. It's very disruptive, and it's in play. And I suspect some listening today actually are driving a Tesla or some EV out there as well. If not, I suspect you will be soon. And then you get the trend of personal ownership to shared vehicles. Yes, it slowed down a bit during the pandemic, but listen, the combination of cost, of convenience, of reliability, and of urbanization is really causing shared mobility to be something that I think is a trend that's here to stay. And even Uber and Lyft now are already seeing their usage go back up again, even during a pandemic. But the combination of those things, again, convenience, you can get the benchmark some people refer to as you can get a shared a vehicle to come within 3 minutes. That's about the point you're going to say, if I can get a vehicle anytime I want within 3 minutes, I don't need to own my own car anymore. So those trends are coming. They're going to continue to come, and shared mobility or shared vehicles, I believe, are going to be with us. Not exclusively. You'll still have a car, but shared transportation will certainly play a bigger role. And then you have driver operated versus autonomous. Driver operated essentially says, hey, we may not be behind the wheel, or we may be behind the wheel. Fully autonomous means no steering wheel, but a level below that might mean you have a steering wheel, but you have intelligence around you that lets the car drive itself and actually gives you a warning beyond just the wheel shaking or a notice when your hand comes off of it. But it says, hey, and this is where we come in, hey, down the road, a turn is coming, or the weather's changing, or the road is slick. It'll give you a warning ahead of time that you put your hands back on the wheel. So some level of autonomy clearly is coming. And then finally, we're moving from hardware to software. Think of it this way, a car today has over 2,000 parts. An EV has about 20 parts, 2 of which are brakes and tires. We love the fact that tires are on there. And the car is increasingly, and you all know this, it's essentially a cell phone on wheels. It has more code in it than I think anything that's out there right now, and it will continue to do that. And in fact, just an interesting tidbit, one of the reasons Tesla is known to have an advantage in EVs is not the EV itself, it's the fact that they actually write their own code and they actually have their own chips. And the combination of those two lets them update their software and change the vehicle much faster than what the traditional automakers are doing, who essentially outsource all their software, all their coding and chips and technology to third parties. Then they have to put it all together. So think about Tesla writing their own software, having their own software engineers, being able to do an update and having a closed loop, where another automaker might have softwares from 4 different companies put together in a vehicle. So think about trying to update those overnight in your garage and what happens by trying to make all those software systems work together. So one of the big challenges the OEMs are having is how do they get their own software engineers, their own chips now, to be able to control that part of what they're trying to build. So put all this together, you got a big inflection point that's coming in terms of how we have to deal with our business going forward. And that's the challenge that we have. So if I tell you, how do I think about that? How do we think about it that at Goodyear? We think about it in this world of what we call FACE, fleets, autonomous, connected, and electric. And we see ourselves in this journey on moving from a manufacturing-driven tire manufacturing-driven tire company to a technology-driven mobility company. And this is where we see the future is, and we see how we have to change ourselves, still revolving our business around a tire, but really seeing how we can fit into this new ecosystem where it's not about just making an unintelligent tire, if you will, going forward. And that's how we're looking at our future. And I'm just going to walk through these very quickly and how we see these things. And the first one is our intelligent tire. It's probably the most exciting thing that we are working on, although all these things coming together is really what's going to change. But think about what we're doing in intelligent tire is being able to measure beyond just pressure and temperature, but being able to measure load and friction, ultimately being able to predict wear and be able to predict road surfaces. We see this world where you have connected cars, connected tires, those connected to the infrastructure, to roads, cars connected to each other, and tires being a vital part of that. Now, for us, by being able to get all these measurements, we can actually take all that information off the road. And remember, the tires are still the only thing touching the road. We can take all that data off the road. We can put it up to a cloud. We take that information and then we share it with autonomous vehicle driving systems, and then have those autonomous vehicles drive or perform better handling, better safety, better performance, particularly around safety, and have this all done real time. Now, the best way to explain this, I always think, is an example. So what we can do in simple terms, as you're driving down a road in northern Ohio, it's maybe in the fall, it's getting slick on the road and there's a curve in the road, maybe some snow on the road. What happens? You feel a little slip, you grab the wheel, you take your foot off the gas, you put it on the brake, and then you sort of take that turn slow. You feel your tires may be worn. You do that and you make that decision. Now you ask yourself, how does that happen in an autonomous vehicle going forward? Think about it. Who can read the road? Who's going to slow that car? Who's going to make those decisions you made? By getting all this data off the road, we can actually improve how that autonomous vehicle drives, again, by measuring the wear of the tire, measuring the road surface, measuring temperature, pressure, all these things that will allow that car to perform safer. And we've already demonstrated we can take a worn tire and stop 30% faster with our intelligent systems than a car can do without that system in it. We've got today over 1 billion miles on the road of fleets that are testing our intelligent tires. These are technologies that we're developing. But if you think about this actually gives us a role to play, both being integrated into that vehicle, but also being able to collect all that data from the road and being able to share that data with a variety of different constituents. Certainly the auto that's driving, but possibly other drivers, possibly looking at road surface, possibly sharing it with the Weather Channel to be able to say what roads are slick and where and how all that data comes together to make the cars coming behind it safer. Maybe it's a pothole, maybe it's traffic, maybe it's whatever. So intelligent tires are obviously tires. Whether there's a driver or not, they're there for us, but then they're also with us as we think about the data that we can collect beyond that. The next thing I would say is around fleets. We do a lot of work with these fleets going forward. AndGo is actually our new peer-to-peer digital service where we connect fleets that are consumer fleets, that are operating out in the marketplace, where we look at digital native companies and track what their vehicles are doing real time when someone's sitting in another city or wherever it can be, giving them data on how those vehicles are performing, and then through our retail infrastructure, actually being able to go service those vehicles, whether it's tires, whether it's cleaning, whether it's charging, whether it's just giving them information about those vehicles. So this is something, as you think about the lifts, as you think about, maybe some of you have used Turo. Turo is like a car sharing app that you can go essentially rent someone else's car while you're on a trip somewhere, just like you can do an Airbnb. Those cars don't have drivers behind them. They need servicing. We do that for them, and we monitor those cars real time. this market is growing exponentially. But we at Goodyear actually are the biggest fleet service provider for commercial fleets around the U.S. So we can get any truck running up in the country in 90 minutes. We have 2,500 locations. We manage their tires. We have digital tools on them. We can measure proactive services. And when you put all that together, we sell them a tire and tire performance, but what they're really buying for us is cost per mile and uptime. That's what fleets pay for. And as you think about consumer fleets moving forward, think about Uber without a driver. What's going to be important to their business model then? It's going to be uptime. It's going to be cost per mile to keep those fleets moving. That's what we do. That's the expertise we have. So that's a really bright future for us as well. And then next, we move to autonomous. I would just tell you, here are a lot of different companies that are working in the autonomous vehicle area, and we work a lot with them to try to make sure that we're with them and connecting that tire, and we're part of their ecosystem. Waymo, everybody knows. Waymo has driverless vehicles in Chandler, Arizona. Maybe some of you on this call have been out there. There's actually cars driving with no one behind the wheel out there. Waymo is one of the leaders in autonomous taxi service out there. Zoox, some of you may have heard of. Zoox actually has a proposed chariot, so two bench seats facing each other with plug-in motors on the end. Zoox is a taxi service essentially that might go from the Loop to downtown to north to Lincoln Park, let's say. Slow speeds, just passengers, and not making a lot of turns. We have a special purpose tire that we have for them that if you think about, your tires have to be speed rated for 150 miles to pass the NHTSA rules. A Zoox tire going 30 miles an hour up and down Chicago can be a non-pneumatic tire that we have for them to be able to provide them a different service, a non-pneumatic intelligent tire that allows them to drive their vehicles better. So there's a variety of different applications that we have, but I just leave you, we're working with all these, many of these different autonomous driving companies out there. It's pretty exciting. And then finally, we'll just go to electric, and I will say electric is important to us because as a tire maker and a tire maker with technological capabilities better than most of our competitors, the tires on EVs are actually drastically changing. They have to manage a heavier load because the vehicle is much heavier because of the batteries that are on the car. They have to have higher durability because the EV motors typically are on the axles and put the torque right to the wheels, so they burn tires faster. Not a bad thing, I have to admit. Thirdly, people want better rolling resistance because you're on a charge. And why haven't you, why are you concerned personally with buying an EV, or at least one of your concerns? How far can I get? Range anxiety, right? So everyone wants more range out of a charge. Lower rolling resistance, less friction from the tire makes a charge go longer. So we have different compounds and chemistry that does that. And then finally, noise. And noise really is around the fact that you hear no motor on an EV. So any out of round or any tire noise is audible to you in the cabin of the car. So we have to have different technologies to keep the tire quieter. For instance, we have foam and tire on our Tesla tires, and foam is a strip of foam that goes around it and is noise absorbing, so it makes the tire quieter as you listen to it. We have to do all these things, of course, not giving up any ride or handling or speed or any of the performance characteristics that you would expect from a Model S that you paid $100,000 from as a sports car. So big technology problem to solve, a big growth market, and it fits right into our technological prowess. So those are some of the things that we're doing. I know I'm short on time here, but those are some of the things that we're doing to deal with this inflection point that we're at, and I'd certainly be happy to ask some questions. But before I stop, I'll just come back and go back to the chart that I said, and hopefully you have been thinking about this and you've been listening to me. But if not, and if you've been thinking about this, I'll just maybe comment on this a little bit more. And I would tell you, as we all think about what our jobs are going forward, I hope what you don't only see here is a stuck sailboat, I hope what you think about here is really in this picture, a rising sea level or rising water level. See, some people, when they look at this, they think about real estate, they think about mortgages, they think about city services, they think about property values. And right now in South Florida, the number is something like 400 billion of real estate or property values that are at risk by the end of the next century because of rising sea levels. And the key to this picture, and the key that I always think about it is, once the sailboat hits the mast because the sea level has actually gone up and doesn't let it go under the bridge that it used to, that's almost too late. Because when that happens, the water probably still hasn't flooded all the houses on the coast or wherever else, but the value of that property probably diminished precipitously because you know what's happening, because you see something like a sailboat getting stuck under the boat. So my challenge to all of you, my challenge to myself, what's your mast? My mast is all those disruptors that I talked to you about: technology, new customers, what services do I have to provide? How do I create value for them? What problem do they need to be solved? And are we thinking about that as a company, or are we just doing the same old thing, ignoring the fact that the boat got stuck under the bridge? That's my mast. That's what I think about. And for all of you, I'd ask you, and I'd have you think about, what's your mast? How are you thinking about the next inflection point, or the inflection point you're going to have in your responsibilities, in your job, in your life, and how you're adding value? It's real important for you to do that. And as I think about that and what I look for in our associates or in our people, I thought I'd take the opportunity to share with this group are really a couple things. One is curiosity. And curiosity is so important. You have to be curious. You have to read. You have to go find things and have an interest in them. We see kids today on social media all the time not reading. You have to learn what's happening out in the world. Think about AI, think about machine learning, think about all those trends in whatever industry, whatever business, or whatever field you're in, education, otherwise. What's happening to the world? How's it going to impact you? And what are you going to do about it? If you don't have curiosity, you got no chance to really think about that, and you're going to get stuck. The second one is collaboration. We have a saying, business is a team sport. We solve problems better together. And being in a room or through Teams or whatever else it is, collaboration is key. And remember, it's real collaboration. It's not sending someone email and telling them you got informed. It's sitting around, problem solving, challenging each other, breaking coffee cups, disagreeing, doing politely. That out of that process gets you a better answer. That's collaboration. Just changing emails or saying I told someone, that's not real collaboration. And then it's creative solutions. Are you really thinking about how to solve the problem? Are you really putting your mind to, okay, what's a way around this problem? Or are you just simply recycling thoughts that you have before? And really, that's where, to me, this notion of holding yourself accountable to say, I'm going to think about what I'm doing. I'm going to be my toughest judge on what am I doing, and am I bringing the right solutions to us? And then finally, courage. And courage is key, because if you don't have courage, you're not going to have the courage to collaborate, to push back on something. You're not going to have the courage to bring those solutions forward, and you're not going to have the courage to deal with some of the difficult things like a pandemic that we're all going to have to work through, because as you all know, we are living through a time that has the most change in the history of mankind, and that's absolutely no exaggeration. The pace of change that's coming to us and what we need to do is immense, and we all have to have the courage to be able to make sure that we're dealing with it the right way. So, George, I went through that quick. I think I hit your timeline. I'm sorry if I went too fast, but like I said, a lot to talk about in a few minutes. So, George, I'll just say thank you to you and the group here for having me. And if we have time, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or take a few. But I also know you have a schedule to keep to, and I want to respect that. So, thank you.
That was super interesting. So a couple of the questions I want to ask from the Q&A, we had a few questions that came in. Do you see any potential future value in intelligent tires and being able to communicate with city planning departments and municipal governments for not only taking care of roads, but for identifying patterns of movement through cities and the country?
Absolutely. That was the, a longer discussion. That's what I was trying to refer to when we think about all the data we can pull off the road. So if you think about how many tires we have on the roads in the US or around the world from which we can get data from, that's the data that's key to say, how can we use that and share? And that's one of the applications I think is going to be absolutely key to deal with congestion, to deal with traffic patterns, to deal with all the things that need to be addressed. Again, thinking about the urbanization trend that we know we're going to face everywhere in the world. So yes, not there yet, by the way, but yes, absolutely.
More of a strategic question. Can you talk more about the reasons for the Cooper Tire acquisition and how that fit into your long-term strategy?
Yeah, no. Again, see, another topic we could have talked on as well. So for us, Cooper's a great fit because it really solidifies us as a U.S.-based leader in the global tire industry. It makes us a clear number one, over 20% share in the U.S. That's big in the tire industry. No one has huge shares. It doubles our size in China, and it actually makes us stronger, particularly in Latin America and Europe as well, with the Cooper products that we have there. Secondly, it enhances our value proposition to our customers. It allows us to give them a broader array of products, and particularly more in the strong and growing field of light truck and SUV, where Cooper is actually very strong. It also improves our financial position. It actually improves our leverage. It gives us more growth as a company, and it improves our cash flow to allow us then to invest in some of those new technologies I just talked about. And finally, but not unimportant at all, not least of all, is that we have a tremendous cultural fit. And when you do M&A, fitting together, making the companies come together successfully, culture has a lot to do with that. Maybe it's because they're an Ohio company, but we share a lot of the same values, and that will certainly help in the integration of the two companies. So win-win all around, and the market liked it as well.
Awesome. So the last question I'll ask you, and this has to be more of a leadership question because we have all the MBAs who want to hear directly from the CEO of Goodyear. If you had a dashboard of ideal leadership, which skills immediately come to mind?
I would say ownership. Taking ownership for your work, which means end to end. Certainly coming with the solutions to the problems or delivering the business or whatever it is. But I would also tell you what I really appreciate is that ownership coming forward and saying what didn't work. Because a lot of stuff doesn't work. And I'm not talking about some innovative new technology that we're just starting up. That's different. I'm talking about doing the day-to-day things and being as forthcoming about the successes that you've had, but also to say, hey, this didn't work, or here was our plan, here is the share we were going to get, the product time, the launch of this new product, the hire I did, the development of this person. What I appreciate is someone that's going to come forward, own what they're doing, and be transparent about it, and not try to tell me a story to make me feel good. It's the worst thing you can do is try to please your boss. And if your boss doesn't appreciate your ownership, your transparency, and your end-to-end clarity about what you're doing, get a new boss, frankly, because it's not worth it. And that's really what it is. It's hard as a leader for people to tell you that, what's exactly going on. That ownership and clarity is what I appreciate the most, frankly.
Awesome. Rich, thank you so much for joining us for this event, being able to share from your perspective, CEO of one of the more influential companies in America, about leadership, about the future of Goodyear, and just your vantage point. We've appreciated you being with us, and especially the intelligent tires. I'm about to go get some tomorrow.
I wish. Well, don't be there, though. No. George, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're now going to shift to our fearless leader, Jason Nedley, who's going to introduce our 2 award recipients.
thanks so much to Rich Kramer for joining us tonight, and thanks to everyone who helped to make all this possible. And I think first and foremost, that includes our MC, George. So thanks to both of you fellows for helping to make this evening a great success. And that was an incredible presentation. I buried my comments because I was making notes here. Inflection point, face, the 4 C's, stuff we heard at the end there: ownership, transparency, clarity. Thinking of Goodyear as a technology-driven mobility company. That's all just fantastic stuff. Scott, it's almost like we got another installment of Thinking Big there. So hard to follow that, but I'm going to try here. My name's Jason Nedley. I am a 2014 graduate of the Professional MBA program, and I've been honored this year to chair the Professional MBA Advisory Committee. Now, this committee was formed under the incredible leadership of the 2016 cohort, and they formed it for 3 reasons. First, to support the recruitment of diverse and talented professionals. Second, to support efforts by the faculty to deliver a singular student experience, right? We want to be different than everybody else and be better. And third, what we're doing here, execute programming which is going to maintain a strong network of alumni. Patrick Breslin and Andy Grau served as the first 2 chairs of this committee, and incredibly, they stayed involved after graduation and helped to get it off the ground. And so to honor Pat and Andy, the committee has decided this year to begin recognizing alumni who have provided exceptional volunteer service to the Professional MBA program. So this year, the committee will award the Grau-Breslin Outstanding Service and Alumni Leadership Award. And it's the first year, and since the first year we had 2 chairs, we're going to have 2 awardees this time. Our first awardee is Molly Chirasso. Molly currently is lead manager at the Banking Group Business Risk and Controls for KeyBank. She has served Key for more than 15 years, primarily in roles focused on internal audit, and before that spent 4 years as an external auditor for Deloitte. Molly is a certified public accountant, a graduate of the American Bankers Association Stonier Graduate School of Banking at Wharton, and most importantly, a 2012 graduate of the Professional MBA program at John Carroll University. Congratulations, Molly. Please say a few words.
Thank you so much, Jason. This is truly such an honor. When Scott asked me to join the committee that Pat and Andy had formed, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And quite honestly, I hadn't been very involved since I graduated, but it was a wonderful way to re-engage with the program. I've been lucky enough to then, take a part in a lot of the different programs and the content, and I feel like I've been able to continue my MBA personally by participating in the committee. And then it was also a wonderful opportunity in 2019 to be part of the Game Changers planning committee, which was an amazing event that we put on, which I'm sure that Tim will talk about as well. But pandemic put a little kibosh on that for last year, but hopefully we'll be able to get that back off the ground. But like I said, it's just been an honor to be involved. I don't get awards very often, so I just want to say thank you for kind of recognizing that, and I hope I can stay engaged because I love John Carroll and I'm a very proud alumni. So thank you very much.
Okay, and I agree with Molly about how volunteering helps us all to get our MBAs over and over again. I mean, I think, look, we gotta pick up the pace too. If the tires are getting intelligent, I think we don't have a choice. We got to keep this stuff fresh in our minds. So, bad joke. That was for Scott Moore. But anyway, our second awardee is Tim Bensick. Tim currently is the finance manager for the Temprite Engineered Polymers business at Lubrizol. He served Lubrizol for 10 years in various capacities as an accountant and financial analyst. Tim holds degrees in accounting and finance from the University of Dayton and is a 2015 graduate of the Professional MBA program at John Carroll University. Congratulations, Tim. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you to the committee, and thank you, Rich, for gracing us with your words this evening. So a couple words came to mind as I reflect on my time in the program, and they were action and impact. And Rich kind of hit on one of them. Maybe the more selfish of the two is action. I've always been a person drawn to doers, Scott Allen, many of the faculty, staff, and fellow students that I graduate with and have met and interacted and stayed close to are likewise doers, very much so. Molly, as we became involved in the Game Changers event a few years ago. And so inspiring action out of my own curiosity, continuing my education, offering me an opportunity to expand my horizons and doing something about it. And recognizing that doing something about it is much easier than it may first appear. To get a group of 10 CEOs in a room for an event, as challenged by Scott in one of his early course loads, taught me that nothing is impossible, and it probably seems closer than it may at first appear. Second is impact, and that's really what speaks to the service and why I dedicate time, back to John Carroll and such a good program. I want to. The program was impactful to me, but I want to further that impact not only on myself, but others that are coming through the program, and that's really something that we look at as time is short, but experiences are really what's important, and being able to offer that impact and maybe add a diverse opinion or a diverse perspective to the current groups that I've been involved with. Be it sitting in on presentations and giving feedback, working in workshops with presentations, or being a part of an event like Cleveland Game Changers, bringing diverse opinions together around the Cleveland community, giving people really that bang for their buck or for their evening spent with us, making an impact and making them be able to feel like they can then take action that next time around. And that's really kind of what inspires me to stay connected to the program, to each of you on this call, and to continue my work outside of my day-to-day job. So thank you all. Really an honor to be here and be awarded this evening, and appreciate and very humbled by it. So thank you.
Awesome. So thanks so much for both of our winners. Now I want to introduce Dr. Al Mikiak. Dr. Ilnak Mikiak is our incoming president for John Carroll after 20 years of Catholic higher education leadership. Dr. Mikiak became the dean of the Bowler School in 2015. A number of accomplishments during his time here at John Carroll. Led our Inspired Lives campaign, which raised $25 million for the Bowler School. Also led John Carroll's business school to have the highest CPA exam pass rate in Ohio. This time I will pass it to our incoming president, 26th president of John Carroll University, Dr. Al Mikiak.
Right, well, thank you, George. Good evening, everyone. So it's not till June 1, so I got a few more days in the current role, but it's so exciting to be, in the 26th president of John Carroll. I'm just thrilled about it. But as I reflect on it, I would tell you that the work has never changed. Whether you're a professor, you're the Bowler Dean, or you're the president, the work just doesn't change. It's providing a transformative education for all of our students, right? So giving them academic challenge, experiential opportunity, and personal formation, which is really, the work that we all do every day, regardless of, our titles and roles. So anyway, it's an absolute thrill. As I always said, the Bowler Dean was the best job, in the place, so Scott has the best job now, and I have one that's even better. So I'd like to say a couple of things about Rich. Obviously he's one of our most accomplished alumni, especially at his young age, right? I mean, this is the key, how much he's done. But more than that, Rich has really supported the university, his alma mater, since the day he left, right? So in all kinds of ways, through athletics, through spending his time on our campus, hiring our graduates, helping us, recruit students and hosting families, both at Goodyear headquarters and at his home and so on. So just a tremendous give back to the university, which I know that he loves. And his wife, Chris, also is a member of our board. And in 2018, they established the Kramer School of Accountancy, and I think, as Rich is talking about, and information sciences. So really looking at what's next. And so I really love the talk tonight, Rich, but I never thought I would hear these two words strung together, intelligent tires, okay? I had hoped maybe to live not as long as that, to have to deal with that, but there it is, right? We have to now deal with intelligent tires, and it doesn't sound like it's an easy thing to, you know, to get your head around, does it? So Rich, you know, you were very modest when you opened. You said you didn't have an MBA, right? So when all the students come in, you usually have a nice gathering. There's usually some alcohol involved and no Zooms, and perhaps we'll do that again very soon. But I talked to them about, you know, are you here to get an MBA or are you here to be an MBA, right? And this is really just that idea of the transition that one has to make to be a business leader, right? And so in your words, you know, you may not have an MBA, but you are definitely, you know, acting that you have one, right? You're a be an MBA guy. And I really liked your last slide, which was curiosity, collaboration, creative solutions, courage, and then the cherry on top, owning it, right? And so that's really this idea of being an MBA. And what we try to really emphasize is, you know, taking knowledge and ideas and turning them into action, right? And, you know, helping create value, and so that an organization can capture value. And in the event that you bobble the ball or flub it up, you own it, right? And you know, and the organization owns it, you know, when you are successful. So I want to thank you again for your time this evening. It's always a great learning opportunity to have you in the room telling us what's going on in your life and how things are going. We really appreciate you know, all the time that you invest back at JCU and certainly in Boulder. And I also want to thank George. I see George has always got this, you never leave the office, I don't think, George. And he's got, I don't know what his playlist in those headphones are, but he's always looks like he's having a good time. But George is also a member of our board, heads up, he's the committee chair for mission and diversity and is doing a great job leading our board of directors and the senior administration on our campus. And finally, Molly and Tim, it's been fantastic watching you, you know, as you've come back and supported the program and, you know, done amazing things in your own life. And we know that Molly actually will have another career as a model, right? Because she's been featured in so many of our websites and brochures. She's very photogenic. No, we appreciate your contributions to all that we've done in Boulder. Okay, George, back to you then.
Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone. This has been fantastic. We're actually going to continue the party in a different link that is going to be dropped into the chat. Thanks to our speakers. Rich, thank you so much. Scott Moore, Al Mikiak, thank you for joining us. To our award winners, Tim and Molly, well-deserved. Thank you so much. Jason Netley, thank you for your leadership of this part-time MBA committee. And Scott Allen, thank you for keeping us all together. You are the glue that has kept this all together, and we appreciate your efforts. All right, link right there. Hopefully see you at the happy hour. If not, have a good one.